Hi YouTubers, and I'm back for another What Would Have Happened If This Were in Real Life YouTube video. Now, I'm trying over and over and over again, and it just keeps on like going more different. Like, you know how like I don't have enough time for like this like, you know how long it takes for me to try and get this one to work, and it's just oh yeah, I just trying to get the right time and the right equipment and all that. And you already get what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, I think that I couldn't think of any of our ideas, but I mean, I do have a few couple of them. So this is, of course, what would have happened if the Ratchet and Clank movie, the live action one, if it were in real life. So we cut open to the beginning of the Ratchet and Clank movie, where it mainly only focuses on like Clank and all that, and how he was created by Dr. Nefarious, but then later brought back to the good side. Which this of course is that. This of course, and just like in the Ratchet and Clank animated movie, he escapes and leaves to Veldin, the planet where Ratchet grew up in. He's still, and then Ratchet, and you know that a lot of the stuff from the animated movie plays out the same way in the live action movie. Instead, only this time, Clank doesn't crash land on like on in like a other part of Veldin. He actually lands right near the shop, the place where Ratchet lived. This of course I was thinking about it, and hey, I got it all going perfectly well. And I decided, why not use the same villain Dr. Nefarious that they've been using for so many years and decades to come. So in 2 decades to come. So I figured, why not use that? So then eventually everything still plays out a little bit the same way. Everything still plays out the same way. Ratchet lets Clank into his home, and then pretty much Ratchet joins Clank, and then they both use then Ratchet and Clank use Ratchet's spaceship that he fixed, which of course everything still plays out the same way. And suddenly this time with them, they're actually going to a different planet. So instead of them, and I mean, they'll still be able to do all the other stuff and all that. And then, I mean, Captain Quark will still be in this, and, you know, Captain Quark will still be in the Ratchet and Clank live action movie. Yeah, they'll still be in there. Everything's still going to stay the same, except only this time, Ratchet and Clank, they're both already appearing in there. Like, they both appear way earlier for anyone to count. Like, you know, that kind of what's already making sense. Then we fast forward, as most of it is. Now, I mean, I'm trying my best, like, you know how that is. But, you know, I was thinking about doing a what would have happened if this were in real life, like a video game movie type video like that. I was thinking about doing that, and I was going on over and over again, seeing how I've already done the Skylanders movie, and how I already did one on that. I figured, why not do one on this? But, you know, here's how things are not going to play out differently. So Ratchet and Clank are, you know, transported into the real world, aka planet Earth, by Dr. Nefarious, just like, now I know this all seems very familiar to like the Skylanders movie or the Phineas and Ferb movie. I know this seems a lot similar to that, but it's only because I couldn't think of any place else to do that. So yeah, Ratchet and Clank end up being in the real world, and of course here we meet the human characters. Now instead of there being like two or three human characters, there's instead of being there like two human characters, at least instead of there being at least two human characters, there's like three or four. I don't know, which is kind of the whole point. And I mean, I was thinking about doing this, seeing how I've already done, seeing how I've already, and I was thinking about doing this, seeing how I've already done like the Skylanders movie and how the live action version of that would have played out. And so yeah, that kind of does make sense. And then of course, and then you already know the drill. The human characters eventually find Ratchet and Clank's bodies, and then then Ratchet and Clank eventually wake up and say that they have to stop Dr. Nefarious from destroying the real world, well, and every other, and every other dimension. That's for sure. And every other dimension. So in the Ratchet and Clank live action movie, the Dimensionator actually shows one hidden dimension which is basically just Earth, which they tell the tale about, which Captain Quark tells Ratchet and Clank about before it tells them about a hidden dimension which is basically just known as Earth, as the real world, aka Earth. And that would be Ratchet and Clank's destiny to find this hidden dimension and keep it safe from Doctor Nefarious. So yeah, that kind of is what's going to happen. I mean, I had a few couple of ideas, and it seems very obvious. Now we're into the middle of the movie where the human characters invite Ratchet and Clank into their home, which is kind of very obvious. And I mean that probably is what happened. They both have dinner. They both talk about the human characters talk about how talk to Ratchet and Clank about where they're from, and and Ratchet and Clank say that they're from like a different planet, and like they would obviously need their help, and Ratchet and Clank would obviously need their help in order to like survive, in order to put an end to Doctor Nefarious and save the hidden dimension, also known as the real world, aka Earth, from himself, right? Like from Doctor Nefarious himself. So yeah, that's kind of what would happen. That's kind of what would happen. And everything will still play out. Some stuff will still play out the same way. I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing, and it's like very obvious. Like you know how it's gonna be very different. So yeah, now we fast forward to the movie as Doctor Nefarious. It is also waiting to find the hidden dimension, and to find the hidden dimension, in which case he has no idea where it is, which of course this would obviously lead to other various ideas. And yeah, that kind of works out. Like maybe it would work out all fine, and like it would be fine and all that. And yeah, and I mean, and of course it would probably work out, seeing how that is. So now we fast forward outside of the middle of the movie, where there's a big where Doctor Nefarious has finally found the hidden dimension, and like they have to protect it they have to protect it the Ratchet and Clank have to protect the hidden dimension, also known as the real world, aka Earth. They're protected from Doctor Nefarious. They all have their big battle scenes, and like it's very obvious. You see now before you. It's all, they have their whole battle scenes, and like all that is kind of like very obvious, which of course that is, and how that is. So then they have their own other version, and how they're trying to protect the very hidden dimension, that Ratchet and Clank are trying to protect the very hidden world. but when they arrive, when they're almost not going to win the battles, Rivet and Clank actually appear, and so many other versions of Ratchet and Clank appear, and then this huge big final battle commences. It's like one big one, and this is kind of like it how it's working. And then they're all like running into each other, and then like basically just makes sense. And then supposedly the big bad scene happens, and then after I forward minutes later, then Dark Interference is about to put an end to the whole thing. Just when Clank actually just when Clank sacrifices himself to put an end to Doctor Interference, which this would be the whole scene. But then moments later, he's revived. Doctor Interference obviously dies in the film, and then everyone celebrates. The human characters say goodbye. The human characters say goodbye to Ratchet and Clank and all the other versions of Ratchet and Clank, including Rivet and Kit. They all head back to their dimensions. Everyone has a perfectly good time together, and then everything is all fine. Now there you have it. That's the Ratchet and Clank. That's what would have happened if the Ratchet and Clank live action movie were if it were in real life. Now I was thinking about like other ideas, like maybe I was thinking about like other ideas, like what if like I was thinking about like other ideas, like I mean you know how that is, and then it's the beginning, middle, and the end, and then the credits rolled. So that kind of just makes sense, and I mean it kind of does make sense. I mean I was thinking about like getting like one of the villains. Resurrecting one of the villains from the past aside from Doctor Interference into the Ratchet and Clank live action movie, but it just didn't seem right to resurrect any of the other old villains aside from Doctor Interference into the Ratchet and Clank live action movie. And I mean it does seem very obvious, but it doesn't seem that way. Like, you know, it's not very obvious, but yeah, I guess that kind of works out. So yeah. And that's it for today. Peace out. Bye bye.